ask you if you can say something about your involvement in the Noahide movement.
My involvement started quite a few years ago, not formally with the movement, but the whole idea by the urgings of the Lubavitcher Rebbe that we have an obligation to spread the word, to make non-Jews aware of their moral code, that they too live by God's word and make the whole world into a better place. So this was a very unique idea at the time. This goes back 30 years, more. And so in terms of writing things, in terms of publishing the various, at least in some synoptic form, what is the Noahide Code, and the occasional speaking on the subject when asked to. Published 1 or 2 articles on it, various periodicals. Then somehow the ball started rolling. I got letters and telephone calls from various people over the United States, also asking for further information. Then things, for me at least, quieted down quite a bit until Pittsburgh jumped on the scene, and since then I was involved with this group.
Yeah. And what is the importance of the Noahide movement in this point of history?
The importance is, I wouldn't say just at this point of history. The importance is timeless and universal, that each human being has a task, has a mission for which God created him, that he has to carry out here on earth. The Jew has his path, which is God giving him the Torah, and the non-Jew has his path, which is the Noahide Code given to all mankind, that all mankind should be made aware to have this consciousness of God, this consciousness of you're not here simply like another animal in the jungle, simply survival and survival of the fittest and what have you, but you have a specific lifestyle that you must lead to bring out and realize your human reality, your human potential, which is not only as submission and obedience to God, but also has the additional benefit of making the world a proper place where people will respect one another, as everybody is created in the image of God, and people will conduct themselves with one another in terms of justice and mercy and kindness, and thereby bring to fruition the ultimate purpose for which the world was created, to make this world a place fit for godliness to be inherent and dwelling in it. So it's not specific at this time, except that perhaps at this time is perhaps more conducive and auspicious, with having seen all the things that have happened throughout history, and especially in the last century, the world wars, the inhumanity, the atrocities. It's kind of, you have hit the bottom of the barrel, kind of demonstrating what happens when people rely on their own wits, when people rely on their own intelligence and saying, well, I'm the master of my destiny, and with all the technological advances and human ingenuity, we are in complete control of everything, and this will bring the world to its ideal state and mankind to the peak of its glory. What happened was the exact opposite. Mankind has never been so low and so corrupt and so demoralized as through all these advances of it, because of this arrogance of relying on oneself. So from that angle, there is definitely a sense of disillusionment And especially even if after World War II, after the Holocaust, after all these terrible things that have happened, which was kind of unimaginable that one human being could do such things to another human being, and the whole world screamed out, never again, never again, and never again. And then we went through Somalia, we went through Bosnia, we went through Darfur, and things are still going on, which means we have a short memory. So this is certainly then a time to remind us that the only way that we can have truly stability and truly true respect for the reality of the human being is if we bring in a moral code, a moral consciousness that does not jump out of our own minds to suit our personal likes or dislikes, but that is beyond us, to which we have to submit, that is supreme over us. And that is pretty much the only hope that mankind will have for itself, to save itself from itself.
Yeah, because what would be the alternative?
The alternative is law of the jungle, survival of the fittest.
And that's where the 7 laws come in for the Noahides.
Right.
What's the basis for the 7 laws?
According to our tradition, God gave them, starting with Adam, the first human being, and then the first 6, and then an additional one was given to Noah. And Adam and Noah are generic human beings. They're not identified with any particular religion, any particular faith community, that all mankind is descended from them. And so therefore this is revealing that to them means this becomes incumbent upon all their descendants, all mankind. And then thereafter comes the Jewish people, that God said that if you have to lead a very unique way of life, which is by way of what we call the Torah, right, which is the additional commandments, and showing and demonstrating for the world at large what it means to live a life directed by divine commandments and divine instructions, so to become a light unto the nations. And it's in the Torah that the Noahide code was laid down and recorded and is explicated. So thereby the Jewish nation becomes also the conduit through which this message is supposed to be conveyed to the world. That this is not just some kind of a social contract, some kind of a conventional law, but that this is a divine law. The problem with conventional law is, as you can see in every country throughout history, that conventional law keeps changing, keeps adapting, keeps adjusting to new circumstances, to new conditions. Conventional law depends pretty much on public will of the majority. So as the general moral mood of society changes, so conventional law changes. Things which were capital offences 50, 60 years ago are today fully accepted as a moral standard, and likewise vice versa. With conventional law you have the problem that you can always find some exceptions, some justifications for doing things differently, and certainly if you can get away with it, there's no control and there's no reason why you shouldn't. Because I made the law and I can break the law and I can change the law. The law depends on me. If you talk about a divine code, then this does not depend on me. This is not a relative code, this is not a social code, this is not something that is enacted strictly for self-preservation or self-protection, but this is something which is absolute. That this is an absolute moral principle. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, blasphemy, idolatry, setting up courts of justices, etc., that these become absolute moral obligations, whether you like it or you don't like it, whether it suits your purposes or does not suit your purposes. Without religion, there's no such thing as ethics. All you have is practical advice for self-preservation. But you cannot really call that morality. Relative morality is an oxymoron. Situational ethics is an oxymoron. It's a contradiction in terms. If it's relative, it's not moral. If it's moral, it can't be relative. If it's situational, it's not ethics. If it's ethics, it cannot be situational. Either it is or it isn't. Either some things are right and good, and other things are bad and evil, or they are not. When we say, thou shalt not murder, in a religious context, it's God says, thou shalt not murder, regardless what. If we say, thou shalt not murder in a purely human context, social contract, what's the definition of murder? And why shouldn't I murder? Well, the only reason you should not murder is because you are scared to get murdered, I'm scared to get murdered, he is scared to get murdered. So let's make a deal. I won't kill you if you promise not to kill me, and he will not kill us if we promise not to kill him. What if I don't care? There's nothing really stopping me. So society adopts all these laws. Society adopts what we call the social contract, which is made up by consensus, democratic vote. What kind of laws would you like to have here? What would you allow? What would you forbid? And this becomes the law. Tomorrow we take another vote and the law changes. Take abortion, for example. Abortion 50 years ago was a capital offense in many places. Today people say abortion is an intrinsic human right. If the woman wants to have an abortion, she has control of her body, then nobody has a right to stand in the way. Fetus, schmetus makes no difference. Euthanasia once was regarded as outright murder. All your good intentions of mercy killing, of why should he suffer, why should he go through life and this and that. Hey, no human being has the right to take somebody else's life, regardless what. Even the suicide, you have no right over your own life either. So therefore euthanasia was regarded as murder. Today, in Switzerland you have the assisted euthanasia, the various other places where you have it, and in most countries they are pushing to get that legalized. A, that a person can take his own life for that, and B, that you can have doctor-assisted suicide, etc., etc. So, I'm quoting the capital punishment. 50, 60 years ago, in most countries, it was a given. Of course, you commit certain crimes, you assign capital punishment. Today, there's a dive, capital punishment is immoral, it's taking human life, etc., etc. So, there's a swing of moods. And that is basically what social contract is. So there's nothing wrong. Fine, if a society wants to build itself on that, that's fine and good. But you cannot say to me that that is morality. You can't say that the woman's right over her body is a moral principle. You can't say that the right of euthanasia is a moral principle. You can say it's an emotional principle. I feel that I should have full power over my body. I feel I should have full power over my life. I feel I should have full power over this and full that. And if this disrupts the social mind, the social way of thinking, let's take a vote. This is essentially what is happening throughout the world in every democratic country. But that has nothing to do with morality. What is the alternative to that without religion? Obviously dictatorship. And frankly, from that angle, I prefer the democracy to the dictatorship. But on the other hand, it has nothing to do with morality. Morality cannot come from me. I cannot be the judge, jury, and executioner over things that I do, because I am subjective and I am partial to the way I feel and the way I think. So if I want to talk about right and wrong, good and bad, it has to be from something which is outside of myself. The only thing that I can know outside of myself would be God. So the alternative, again, what are the alternatives? The alternatives is either a divine code directing and governing human behavior, or law of the jungle. Basically, fascism, Nazism, Bolshevism, Marxism, but Bolshevism, for whatever type of form, in which some kind of a invention of a certain social philosophy is getting free license to act and do whatever they like.